What happens when the self-proclaimed symbol of primal masculinity finally gets unmasked in front of millions? When the shouting, the raw meat eating, the tribal tattoos, and the bulging muscles all crumble under the weight of one brutal truth? The world watched a character rise from obscurity to virality by selling a lifestyle drenched in ancestral ideals. One that demanded eating raw liver, sleeping on wood, rejecting modern comforts, and pumping up the testosterone levels until the veins popped. But what if the only ancestral thing about it all was the ancient art of lying through teeth for profit? That's the messy, loud, and bizarre tale of Liver King. And make no mistake, his career didn't just slip, it exploded into flaming chaos, and there's not a soul left feeling sorry for him. Because if anyone has earned the crash and burn, it's the guy who thought you could scream your way past reality. It all started with a camera, a slab of raw meat, and a gimmick. Liver King wasn't a character stumbled upon by accident. He was curated, sculpted, and marketed like a fitness action figure, screaming into phones, flexing veins like fire hoses, and preaching ancestral living while very clearly enjoying the luxury of modern wealth. The internet loved it. It was weird, intense, and shareable. He wasn't just selling liver, he was selling masculinity dipped in testosterone sauce. The tattoos, the beard, the barbarian-themed family photos, all crafted to look like the embodiment of primitive perfection. But here's the thing, nothing behind the curtain was ever real. The Liver King was a complete fraud. The image, manufactured. The muscles, purchased. Behind the primal preaching was a man juiced to the gills on performance-enhancing drugs, all while loudly denying any use of steroids. And when it all came crashing down, it wasn't because of a single misstep. It was a slow collapse, starting with the revelation from Derek from More Plates, More Dates, who exposed the extensive steroid use with cold, hard evidence, emails, lab tests, and a price tag of over $10,000 a month on HGH and other compounds. The audience that had been shouting primal along with him felt completely betrayed. In a tone-deaf attempt at damage control, Liver King released a video titled, "Primals, I'm making this video to apologize." There were pauses, dramatic sighs, and confessions that felt more like a PR checklist than genuine remorse. And that's the thing. People can forgive mistakes. They can forgive stupidity. But what they don't forgive is a calculated lie, especially when it's used to sell products and push a lifestyle. The moment Liver King admitted to lying, the internet's patience snapped. The ancestral living branding suddenly felt like nothing more than a cash grab. That fake apology was only the beginning of a spiral. Instead of laying low and taking accountability, he tried to rebrand himself as a fallen hero on a redemption arc. There were hints of humility, short-lived efforts to seem human, but no one was buying it. The golden rule of influence was broken, never lie to your audience, and once that trust was gone, nothing could patch it back up. It became clear that he wasn't sorry for lying, he was sorry for getting caught. And every move after the apology seemed to confirm that suspicion. Things took a truly strange turn when a Netflix documentary dropped and poured even more gasoline on the fire. The documentary didn't just echo the steroid scandal, it expanded on it, revealing even more layers of deception and hypocrisy. It questioned everything from his infamous raw organ-eating videos to the very authenticity of the lifestyle he preached. Even the cow testicles, those symbols of primal performance, were exposed as props. The so-called ancestral diet was nothing more than a Hollywood costume party with more cholesterol. The documentary was a mirror held up to a crumbling image, and Liver King couldn't handle the reflection. The response was a full-on meltdown. Not just online rage, but a visceral, chaotic descent into delusion. His videos became more unhinged, angry rants, threats, and bizarre declarations. He called out Joe Rogan, challenged him to a physical fight, and said Rogan wouldn't need a camera but the hand of someone he loves because of what would happen next. That wasn't a metaphor. That was a legitimate, unfiltered threat. And it didn't stop with Rogan. The anger stretched to Derek from More Plates, More Dates, to John Bravo, even to Netflix producers. Suddenly, everyone was an enemy, and Liver King saw himself as the wronged warrior in an epic battle. There's one thing to rant and rave online, but when weapons come into play, it crosses a dangerous line. Footage showed a gun placed on a pile of cash inside a box, shown proudly without context as if to send a message. Combine that with statements about real tension, beef, and plans to make people pay, and it paints a disturbing picture. The theatrics weren't funny anymore. They weren't even outrageous in a viral sense. They were just concerning. It was less of a comeback and more of a mental unraveling. The presence of a firearm shifted the entire narrative from performative bravado to potential threat. No longer was it just about shock value, it became a question of safety. When influencers start brandishing weapons on camera, the line between content and criminality gets dangerously thin. It's a sign of someone not in control but unraveling under pressure. That box wasn't just a prop, it was a red flag, and it showed that the grift had evolved into something darker and far more unstable. And what about the supposed supporting cast? The family, the wife, the primal tribe. There was a strange narrative that the Liver Queen, his wife, was somehow an innocent bystander, that she needed saving. But that storyline doesn't hold up under scrutiny. She was part of the grift from day one, appearing in the videos, supporting the brand, backing the primal lifestyle while the business cashed in. Her own comments after the documentary revealed a similar level of delusion and defensiveness. In one bizarre message to John Bravo, she accused him of never creating value and insulted him personally, calling him a sad man riding her husband's wave. Not exactly the response of someone distancing herself from the scandal. The truth is, the entire Liver Kingdom was built on deception and ego. When the mask cracked, it wasn't just one man exposed. It was a full-on empire of lies. And what's worse is that the fallout didn't lead to humility. It led to threats, toxic masculinity turned up to 11, and rants about fake Jews, ancestral honor, and bizarre concepts of revenge. It wasn't even about the steroids anymore. It was about the full collapse of a persona that couldn't survive scrutiny. Liver King's public behavior started to resemble the exact opposite of discipline, strength, and leadership. It became chaotic, narcissistic, and disturbingly self-obsessed. Even the barbarian lifestyle, which was once marketed as tough and gritty, lost all credibility. Real primal living isn't about flying around in jets, flashing stacks of cash, and threatening critics. That's just delusion with a tribal costume, and the online community, they saw through it. No one was buying the ancestral dream anymore. The very fans that used to shout Liver King out were now mocking the madness, and yet despite all this, he walked out of jail. He's still out there. Videos show him wandering around Austin, supposedly looking for Joe Rogan. He visits historical landmarks, he live streams vague rants. There's even speculation that he's wearing an ankle monitor, which wouldn't be surprising given the context. But there's something eerie about it all. The man who once boasted about protecting his tribe and being a leader is now a lone figure spiraling through a city, rambling about revenge and ancestral pride. This isn't just about a fake natty getting exposed. This is about what happens when ego, money, and influence collide in a person who can't distinguish reality from performance anymore. The alpha male act crumbled under the weight of its own absurdity. The grift was so thick that even the organs weren't real. The mindset wasn't real. The leadership wasn't real. It was a brand born in dishonesty and ended in disgrace. And now, the final act isn't redemption. It's retaliation. It's about making others pay, as Liver King repeatedly puts it. Whether it's Joe Rogan, Derek, John Bravo, or anyone else who dared to pull back the curtain, they become targets. The disturbing part is, the threats don't even feel like marketing anymore. They feel real. They feel like they're coming from a man who has truly lost touch with the line between character and identity. No one forced Liver King to lie. No one made him sell fake ideals to desperate followers. That was all a choice. The fame, the fortune, the followers, they were all built on deception. And once that tower of lies collapsed, he chose chaos instead of accountability. He could have admitted fault, disappeared quietly, and maybe returned someday with authenticity, but instead, he doubled down, then tripled. Now what remains is a cautionary tale about what happens when influence becomes delusion. The Liver King ruined his career the moment he decided a lie was better than the truth, and he deserves the downfall because the entire empire was built on pretending to be something he never was. No muscle, no liver, no shouting can cover up the damage now, and the world is watching, not with admiration but with concern. If this deep dive into Liver King's dramatic downfall gave a clearer look at the madness behind the muscle, hit that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts. Subscribe for more breakdowns just like this, and join the conversation.